Hi, I'm Aiman, and welcome back to one of my auto repair videos. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to remove the radiator on a Honda Insight Generation 2, which applies to 2009 to 2013 models. Before you do this, you have to drain the coolant, which I showed you how to do in my previous video, so go check that out if you haven't already. But we're going to get right to it. Of course, let's make sure that our battery is disconnected. And there's a couple of fasteners, bolts, and hoses that we need to disconnect. There's this bolt here, while on the other side, these two bolts here. We're also going to disconnect this hose right here. Just squeeze it and then, I'll show you later. We're also going to disconnect this hose here by removing that screw right there. And we're also going to disconnect the electrical harnesses. So there's a cable right there, one here, and maybe some other fasteners which we'll get to later. On the bottom side, there are a few hoses that we need to disconnect as well. Okay, so we have a hose right here, which I'll show you how to take out. One right here, and one right here. And it looks like there might be a few other electrical harnesses as well. Electrical cables that we need to disconnect as well. Okay. It couldn't hurt to have, if you don't wear glasses, it couldn't hurt to wear goggles, just so liquid doesn't fall in your eyes. But in order to disconnect these hoses, you see the way that these clamps work is that they have prongs on both sides of the circle, so that when you squeeze them with the pliers, the clamp opens up. And so if I have a good angle, I can demonstrate here what that looks like. I'm making this a bit harder for myself so that you can see what I'm doing. But you see, as I squeeze it, the diameter of that clamp gets bigger, and I'm able to sort of wiggle it up the hose so that it's away from the port. And that will allow us to free the hose away. Now I'm going to block the camera so that this is easier for me. So now it's open. Now I just gotta wiggle it up, and you can see that it's moved up the hose. And you might need to move it up a bit further. Yes, you need to move it up further, so that this can get wiggled off. So you might need to grab it with the plier and just twist it off. Alright, so I have some pliers that are specially shaped for removing hoses. We need this specifically because this is an older car, so it's harder to actually remove hoses on it. But this allows us to grip it a bit better and loosen it. Once we have it loosened, we can go up here where there's no metal and pull it out. And so while you're doing this, it's important to make sure that you're not directly under the port when you take it out, so you don't get anything in your eyes. So ideally, you would want to use a hose clamp, and you would want to put the hose clamp on beforehand, but we didn't think ahead of plan. So just make sure you put a hose clamp on this to restrict the oil from coming out. Okay, so now we have hose clamps on all three hoses. Sorry we didn't do that before. I guess we were rushing. But now we should be able to take them off. But before we get there, we're going to take off these electrical cables. So we're just going to, they have a bit of a pinch button that you need to press in order to release them. So we're going to take pliers. We're going to squeeze. If you're on the passenger side, you should be able to see that where you have to pinch. But you just want to pull it out. And there's also this little fastener here that goes into that hole. You can see the way it works is to release it, you have to pinch it on the sides with a plier. So you want to release that from that hole. So we're going to tuck this off. Oh my god, it's dusty right here for now. Okay, so back to the hoses. We're going to release these. Now this is going to be a bit harder for me to show on camera because it's not in a good angle. All right, so I've squeezed it. I have to get on this side. It's hard for me to do it. Okay. And I'll move it to the side to make my job easier as well. And there we go. Whew. Okay. Let's see. If I can't pull it out by hand, I'll use a plier because I don't have a big enough plier to. I don't have a big enough ring plier. So let's see if this will work. Okay. Let's make it a bit smaller. There we go. We have that big hose off, and now this last one. Oh, it's on the top side. That's going to be a bit difficult. Okay, let's move it down. Yeah, you guys are not going to be able to get a good angle of this. Okay, so we took some bent pliers and we used it to turn it over to our side. This should make it easier for me to grab it. And then move it up. All right. So let me take my ring pliers. Loosen it. And then grab it out. Okay. So let's get the rag, let it drip. All right. So one thing I didn't mention, I didn't get to show you because on this car it doesn't have it, is that while you're working under down there, you have to remove this shield or the splash guard because it prevents us from getting to the radiator. This is actually the shield from Oscar's Honda Insight. Can you hear me? Okay. Which Hatem actually removed from Oscar's car and left it here. I guess because he thought it was okay to take it off and just leave it like that. Because he wants to be like his late dad. You know, because Uncle Yus, he always removed the splash guard because for him as a mechanic, it made it easier for him to get to all the components. But you should always put this back after you're done with the job. And my dad never agreed with Uncle Yus. He always put this back, but Uncle Yus always left it off. So just make sure that when you do this job, you put it back on after. Okay, so now that the bottom part is done, we're going to move on to the top. Since we were disconnecting the hoses before, I'm going to start with the hose. So it should be pretty standard. It might be a bit harder to use if this is blocking your way, so we can remove that first, but on my side it's not. Okay, I don't think, well, should we put a clamp? Nah, it's okay. So I'm just going to unhook this hose. It's a bit too big. All right, it's loose. Oh, a bit more. There we go. All right, almost. And there we go. Whew. The hose is disconnected. And let's see, can we tuck it up here? Yep, looks like we can tuck it up here. Well, it shouldn't be a problem to us now. Okay, so now we're going to take off this tiny little screw here on the air intake. and this one just takes a Phillips screwdriver. Put some PV blaster on it in case you're worried about stripping it. Alright, so it looks like it's a bit too hard to do, so we're going to go with the more surefire way, which should be either a 4mm socket, or in our case we had to go down to Imperial 7/32 inch. Oops, sorry. We're going to loosen it enough so that this is loose enough to take off. Alright, so it's loose enough to move it around. So we're going to, in order to make this easy to remove, we're going to take off these bolts. Alright, so they're 10mm. Okay. Maybe this is out of battery. It's not operating at full power. Alright, so we'll put some PV blaster on that for now. We'll try the other one and see how well that one comes out. But if not, then we'll do it manually. See, this one comes out easily. I can already tell. It's going to be nice. Oh, and then it hits a blockage, so we'll probably have to end up doing it manually. Oh, wait. I think the Milwaukee's also out of battery, so give me a second. Okay, let's give it another try. Okay. So this is what the bolt looks like. Looks like it has not one, but 2 washers, so make sure you don't lose that. Let's try on this one again, and you know, you might still have to end up taking it out manually because it looks like one of those bolts. Okay. So here we go. This one only has 1 washer. Interesting enough. Alright, so let's just try taking this entire thing out. And we'll have to jiggle this a bit. And there we go. Quite a long screw. So I'm just going to set it aside. Pretty much anywhere is fine. And now what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect these cables. So looks like there's a few fasteners that we'll just remove with some pliers. And these are just cables that you pinch. You can see the pinching on this side. Okay. And so let's see, do I have enough arm strength to do it? I'm just being very deliberate with this because I don't want to break these with my big man muscles. So, okay. Oh, there we go. So you see, you push down on this, the lever comes up and releases. Okay. So let's get some pliers, take these out, and also there's one here. This one looks like it'll be a bit harder for me, so I'll try it first by hand. Okay, and there we go. You can see it comes out fairly easily. Same type of mechanism. So now what I'm going to do is release it from these 2 fasteners. And I'll use a needle nose plier for that. There we go. The same thing here. Actually, this one looks broken, but here we go. So now that this is loose, we're gonna stick it right here so it's out of the way. Next, we want to undo these 2 bolts. And we'll see if that's all that we have to do. So I'll start here. So okay, so here's the question. If I undo that one, will it fall? It doesn't look like it will. So let's just see. Just in case I'm going to hold on to it, but it's probably not going to fall. resting on that bottom shield there. Okay, so you can actually remove these. They're on both sides though, so you want to remember which one goes where. The one on the passenger side has this little tab on it. Although if you tried to put them on other sides, I'm not sure if it would fit properly. Yeah, it wouldn't be at the right angle. I mean, you could try, but what's the point of this? Okay, so we'll set this aside for now. Okay, so we're going to lift out the radiator. We have to be very careful about this. One, we don't want to scratch the condenser. I mean, in our case, we're going to be replacing it anyway, so in our case it doesn't matter, but you don't want to scratch your condenser. And second off, if we feel any resistance, any snags, that means we just put it back down and reassess, because there might be still something that hasn't been disconnected. All right, let's give this a try. Okay, so at the beginning you might feel a bit of crunchiness. That's just it coming out a bit. And you can see right now it's getting snagged on that wire, so be deliberate about this. And there we go. Oh, I was wishing I could lean it against that. But here we go, we have the radiator taken out. And also, just to show you the back side, that's what it looks like. Okay. In our previous video, when we drained the coolant, we took out this plug. So just in case, we're going to put it back in, just so we keep everything together. And for now, while we work on the condenser and the compressor, we're going to store this somewhere safe. Somewhere where no one's gonna, trip on it. You want to make sure that the radiator side doesn't get scratched at all. Okay, and let's take a look inside and see what we're dealing with. Here you can see the 3 hoses that we worked with. When you reinstall the radiator, you want to make sure to reconnect those hoses and also reconnect the electrical cables. But yeah, this is a pretty simple job. You just have to take out everything that's keeping it in, and then finally you can lift it out. So I took back the radiator out just to talk a bit about it. If you just want to replace the radiator and you want to keep these fans, then all you would have to do is you would have to remove these bolts, swap out the radiator, and then put everything back in. Pretty standard. We've done this before for this car, for Oscar's car, but we didn't do a video. So just take our word for it. It's pretty simple. If you are interested in how to do it, I think we have a video on the Honda Accord, which has a pretty similar procedure. So go check out that one. Okay, so that's the end of this video. I'm Aiman, and today I show you how to remove the radiator for a Honda Insight Generation 2. That's the end of this segment. The next segment is going to be about how to remove the condenser. There'll also be a video on how to install the radiator, because it's going to be a series on how to replace the AC system in this car. So go check that out if you're interested. For now, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and look at other videos on EyeOnAiman, especially the other videos in this series, and I'll see you there. For now, I'm Aiman, signing out.